If you didn't laugh at least once while watching Minions or Despicable Me, it's probably because your eyes were closed and your ears were plugged. But for you, who surely laughed a lot at the antics of those little yellow creatures, did you know the movies are filled with adult jokes and things that only grown-ups would catch? One such moment happens in Despicable Me 4, where we notice that one of the minions experiences a major heartbreak that almost no one caught. While the yellow creatures are at the AVL, Mr. Ramsbottom gathers almost all of them, except for one, who we see in the background walking alongside a female anti-villain league agent. It's pretty clear that the minion is flirting with the girl, and it even seems like he's doing well. However, a short while later, while the AVL boss is talking to his new agents, we see the same girl walking by again, but this time with a strong human guy at her side. We can see that the minion from before tries to follow them, but ends up giving up, tossing aside a small flower he was going to give her after seeing that she's already with another guy. This was surely a heartbreaking moment for the poor minion, who was likely left disillusioned, just like the older folks know all too well. Besides this detail, there are several hidden moments that only adults noticed, and we've compiled them to show you now. So you know what to do. Join in because another Cinewave is starting. Also in Despicable Me 4, we notice that when the minions are in the AVL cafeteria, one of the little yellow guys is sleeping while leaning against one of the tables. What's interesting is that there's a full cup of coffee in front of him, yet he's still exhausted. The minion next to him notices this and gives him a slap to wake him up before the boss notices. This is definitely something adults understand very well, since being tired all the time seems to be a part of the routine for anyone who needs a job to pay the bills. So adults can totally relate to the sleepy minion. Right after Gru's 5 employees are transformed into Mega Minions, there's something really cool we notice. The group of 3 scientists working at AVL is overjoyed when everything goes right and the yellow creatures gain their powers. At that moment, we see the only female scientist gives her colleague next to her a kiss, catching him completely by surprise because it's clear he didn't see that coming. But that's not the only case of kissing we find in the Despicable Me franchise. In the first Minions movie, when Kevin, Bob, and Stuart are chasing the Queen of England's carriage, at the exact moment when Bob's robotic legs grow taller, we can see in the background 2 young women taking pictures with a royal guard. The detail here is that if we look just at what's happening in the background, we'll notice that without the girl realizing it, the guard is about to plant a big kiss on her while she poses for the camera. Stealing kisses is definitely something adults understand very well, without a doubt. And who doesn't like giving a kiss? Even if it's just on the cheek, right? So if you like kissing or being kissed, even if it's just by your mom or grandma, comment below with #KISS. When the minions are celebrating among themselves in the second movie, there are quite a few things that only adults would notice. For instance, you can see the little yellow creatures handing out sundaes and ice cream as if they're in a bar serving alcoholic drinks, making a playful reference to wild parties, but with ice cream to keep it lighthearted. But adults definitely understood the implication. And it seems like the effect ice cream has on the little yellow guys is similar to how alcohol affects adults, because during the party, you can even spot a group of minions in a sort of VIP section where one of them is happily dancing on a pole while the others cheer wildly. So far so good, but the problem is that adults know very well that pole dancing is usually found in clubs that are strictly for grown-ups. So how did that end up in the Minions headquarters? I think the Despicable Me animators might have pushed the boundaries a bit too far this time. If there's one character who isn't particularly loved in the Despicable Me movies, it's Marlena, Gru's mom, because she treats her son with a lot of coldness, and she also stars in some moments that only adults can fully understand. We know that the mother of our favorite villain divorced her husband when her 2 sons were just babies. The detail is that after that, at various points in the movies, we see Marlena dating several different men who are much younger than she is, like the buff swimming instructors in Despicable Me 3 and her yoga teacher in Minions 2. This leads to Gru's mom being considered a cougar, a term for older women who are attracted to much younger men. That's definitely not something you'd expect in a kids movie, right, Illumination? When Gru, his son, the Minions, and Poppy infiltrate the school for supervillains, adults definitely notice something pretty funny. In a specific area inside the school, right where they land, you can see a spot that looks like a cage. And above it, there's a sign that says "Prison for Good Kids." Any adult who has kids and noticed this detail has probably at least once wished they had a cage like that at home to put the kids in for a bit just to get some rest, as cruel as that might sound. Shortly after that scene, we see one of the school employees responsible for monitoring the cameras reading a book, and when we look at the cover, it says, "I hate my boss, surviving a toxic workplace." If you've ever had a job, like almost every adult, you know exactly what that book cover means and how it reflects the feelings of most people working today. Don't believe me? Just ask any adult with a job. Whether you have a job or not, there's one thing you need to do. Subscribe to our channel right now. Just click the subscribe button and you're done. One of those moments that only adults would catch happens at the beginning of the second movie, when the minions are working at the jelly factory that Gru set up. While two minions are goofing around with a fruit arrangement on their heads, if we look at one of the machines in the background, we can see that two other workers of Gru get into a disagreement and start fighting. We can see them trading blows with mallets, and things get so intense that one of them actually passes out after getting whacked in the face, much to the dismay of the other minion, who then frantically looks around to see if anyone noticed what just happened. He then tries anything he can to wake up the knocked out minion, even performing CPR, until the character suddenly wakes up with wide open eyes. Realizing that he didn't actually kill his friend, the aggressive minion is so relieved that he hugs and kisses the cheek of the buddy he thought he accidentally killed. All of this happens as part of the movie's background action, and almost nobody noticed it when they watched Despicable Me 2. In this same scene we just mentioned, you can spot another thing happening at the same time that most fans didn't catch. While all that chaos is going on the other side, you can see a short and round minion approach one of the vaults in Gru's lair, and he slightly opens the door. From inside, we see another one of Gru's minions, this one taller and skinnier, emerging from the vault. We can notice that both minions are looking around to see if anyone is watching them. Then, the shorter minion pulls the other one inside the vault, as if they're about to do something really sneaky. Are they sneaking in to eat some sweets without sharing with the other minions? Or maybe they're planning a secret vacation without inviting anyone else. It's a mystery. Going back to the Minions party we mentioned earlier in the video, we can see that they were really excited. You can spot several of them doing a conga line on one of the walkways where they're always moving around. At a certain moment during the celebration, we can see the minion at the front turning around to give a playful slap on the butt of the Gru worker who's right behind him. This is definitely something we can say is very adult for a children's movie, don't you think? When the minions are at the villain convention, they watch Scarlet's presentation, and there comes a moment when she challenges those present to try and steal the huge gemstone she's holding. At this point, we see the first poor soul who tries to do so jump in front of the minions and charge at the challenge. The interesting thing is that if you look closely, you'll notice that he slaps another villain in the face who's also in the audience and was about to stand up to try and take the gemstone. The detail that almost no one caught is that the man who gets slapped is none other than Richard Nixon, the 37th President of the United States, who's famous for the Watergate scandal, where it was proven that he spied on his political enemies very much in the style of a supervillain. Since the movie is set in 1976, Nixon had already resigned from the US presidency, so we can guess that maybe he was at the convention just for fun. This is definitely a reference that only some of the older adults were able to catch. But he's not the only world leader we see being referenced at the villain convention. That's because in one of the front rows, we can see a small man who bears a striking resemblance to the lineage of North Korean dictators, one of the world's longest-standing dictatorships to this day. So besides being great entertainment, Minions and Despicable Me also provide a bit of a history lesson. We've got 2 great video options for you to watch right now if you're interested. That way, you can stay on the channel a little longer. And best of all, have fun with us. Just pick one and click on it.